Another exciting episode here on the Professional Edge, pivoting. And my name is Todd, tax attorney, CPA, certified financial planner. Yes, there's more credentials after my name than in the spelling of my name. A little tongue-tied right there. But we're talking about pivoting given the economic conditions that we're all being exposed to. And the number one thing that we're talking about is inflation. We talked about the holding of bonds in the previous episode. So if you missed that, tune back in. And if you're a radio listener, you can always go to our podcast that is on Google or on Apple Podcasts. And that is Professional Edge. And you'll see my mugshot right there. Blue shirt, just me. It says Professional Edge. And you can tune in. And when new shows get posted, then you'll get a little notification. It's a great way to, A, break up your drive, or when you're on a walk, get some information. So again, thanks for tuning in to the Professional Edge. So let's talk about this, how we need to pivot going forward. Well, we know that the Fed has announced that they're going to raise interest rates to combat this inflation. And you say, well, how does that really affect inflation? Well, it is a large macroeconomic transaction that transpires. So let's walk through that so you understand what's going on and how we can, A, implement some changes in your portfolio and in what you're doing to benefit yourself. That's what we're all here for, right? We need to pivot, make changes, and move in a different direction to protect ourselves. Now, we have no control over the price of food, gas, energy, things like that, or even repairs. For example, I had an electrician come by, and he said the roll of that 14.2 that used to be $100 has went up 3 times the money. So if you're wiring a house, a new house, then that is a substantial cost because every house has to have wiring. So he's going to pass that cost on. So the cost of construction has jumped significantly. And we as buyers of that real estate have been very well taken care of because of the historically low interest rates on our mortgage. So we've been able to absorb this cost because we would just borrow an additional $50,000 or $100,000. And the cost to finance that $100,000 is not that much given the very low historic interest rates of mortgages. But let's move forward. Let's pivot. Let's see how the Fed is pivoting. Well, they're going to pivot and they're going to raise interest rates. So therefore, that mortgage cost is going to go up. So now you're not going to be able to afford that extra $100,000. So you're going to rent and not buy that house. So therefore, the demand for housing should slow down because the overall cost of carrying and ownership of that house just jumped because of the change in the mortgage rates. It's not less than 4% or less than 3%. I've seen some of those come through. And therefore, the cost for borrowing on $100,000 jumps. So therefore, the demand for housing will fall. And adding to the macroeconomic analysis, when the demand for something falls, then, quote, prices should fall. That's all in theory. But let's think about that. Is the change in interest rates actually going to reduce or bring back down to earth the prices of food? Probably not, because that's all conditioned on something else. It's called the ability to get workers to actually work. And everyone was for the minimum wage going to $15 an hour. Well, the individuals that went for that $15 an hour minimum wage, you're now experiencing the implications of that because let's say it's a fast food franchise. If they're having to pay $15 an hour, they have to make a certain amount of profit. So how do they absorb that extra cost per hour for every employee? Well, they have to raise their prices. Now we have food prices going up because the producer of that patty or of that bun has paid their workers $15 an hour or more to get them to work to get people back into the workforce. So now instead of 15 an hour, they're having to pay 20, 25 an hour. So they're going to offset the cost of that, the cost of the dozen buns that's going to the fast food restaurant. They're increasing their price. And then because the increased price of the buns going into the fast food franchise, then they are having to pay their workers more money per hour, and they had to pay more for their food. So guess what? You as a consumer there looks at the menu board and sees all the prices have went up dramatically. That's inflation. It just doesn't stop. Everybody starts putting a brick on the wagon. Well, eventually the wagon's going to stop because it's too much. Well, then at that point, then the bricks slowly start coming off. But it's really hard to adjust wages going backwards or the prices going backwards. Yeah, prices can drop. So when you stop buying things at our fast food restaurant, then they're going to reduce prices to get more people in. They're going to, do value options. But I do not see that in the near future for the next year, 18 months, or maybe even 2 years. This inflation is pretty heady. It's a big bonfire right now, and it's roaring. And we also have a tremendous amount of money inside the system because of the Fed purchasing during COVID. Instead of going to a complete world economic collapse, the Federal Reserve stepped in and aggressively, thank goodness, started buying equities to support the markets and provide liquidity. So therefore, we didn't go into a depression. Thank you, Fed, for doing that action. And from that point, we need to, consider what we as investors need to do in our portfolio. So to combat inflation, we got to pivot, and that's why we're talking about it and what we can do and the macroeconomic conditions on how it impacts you as a listener here on the Professional Edge. So to start that conversation, give our office a call at 877-654-9798. That number again, 877-654-9798. And I always like, this combating inflation, here's the deal. We also are combating inflation, but we're going the opposite way. We have put together what I call the bundle. I've talked about it at different times, and that's where we've combined your estate plan so you can get your complete estate plan done. We review your portfolio and adjust those and make written recommendations on what you should do going forward based on your risk tolerance and whether you have the right investments in the right account and whether you're saving enough towards retirement. And then the final part of that bundle is an income tax analysis. Got to add that plural on there. And when we look at that, we analyze that from the purview of a tax attorney. What can we do if death happens? We got to bring that into the foray. What can we do to reduce the amount that you send to the Internal Revenue Service? And, there is no one magic wand on tax planning. It's doing all these small things. When you add up the nickels and dimes, they turn into real dollars. So again, to take advantage of that or to get additional information, you would go to emcthebundle.com. That is Echo, Mary, Charlie, thebundle.com. Now, if you got all three of these from our office, then the combined cost or investment that you would make in that is north of $10,000. And you say, wow, that's shocking. Well, what we've done is for our listeners here on the Professional Edge, we've combined those three and it's called the bundle and it's $3,000. That's it. Are you going to invest $3,000 to one, potentially avoid probate if that's a need for you, avoid ancillary probate, that's probate in 2 different states, and then look at your portfolio because things are different now, folks. It's not the easy money train that we've been on. We have inflation. We have to adjust things in our portfolio to weather this storm. We have the potential conflict over with Russia and Ukraine, and what is our response? And, the markets don't like war, and potentially there's going to be an adjustment there. The markets don't like this inflation right now. And so you have to make an adjustment in your portfolio if you are a wise listener here on the Professional Edge. Just don't be that ostrich and put your head in the sand and just weather the storm and think everything's going to be okay. We've had tremendous returns in the markets the past 3 years. It's been profound. The recovery after COVID, the 30% adjustment in March, that has been incredible. Yes, the economy is strong. Don't second guess that. We're pretty prolific. But when consumers, because 70% of our economy is based on consumption, and the individual's paying $1 more per gallon at the pump, and think about this for a second, we're spending $400 million more every single day on gas than a year ago. So $400 million a day is being spent on gas compared to a year ago. So multiply that out, and we say, okay, if we're paying more for gas, then we have less to buy that new shirt at one of our stores that we shop at. We just had to put $100 in my F-150, and you know what? After that, I don't feel like spending any money, but can I avoid buying gas for my truck? The answer is no. Yes, you say buy the electric vehicle and all that good stuff, but well, we all can't drive an electrical vehicle because the infrastructure is not available for that. So when I pump that $100 in my truck and I look around, I'm like, you know what? I really don't need the 2 roller dogs in there for another $3. I just spent $100. So again, I'm changing my buying behavior. And yes, some of our listeners are probably snickering at the roller dog. That is that thing that rolls inside on the convenience store and it rolls around and rolls around. Is it the best? Some days it is, especially if I'm very hungry, and it's okay. It's usually a bargain. They give you a bigger discount if you buy 2, and I'm 6'5", and I buy 2. So getting back to the pivoting on this inflation, you need to adjust your portfolio. Number one, if you have a substantial portfolio of bonds, because those are going to take a value hit. That's number one. And number two, there's also a change in what is going to be in the growth sector or in the value sector. Even though you own large cap stocks, medium cap stocks, small cap stocks, 90% of your portfolio return is based on your diversification within your portfolio. And a lot of us have not looked at that diversification. So to take the first step in that and to get an objective review, either A, go to emcthebundle.com. That is Echo, Mary, Charlie, thebundle.com. Put your information in. There's that one. Or just give our office a call at 877-654-9798. That number again, 877-654-9798. Appreciate you listening to Professional Edge. We have more coming up on The Pivot.
With today's financial markets, are you getting the personal and professional attention you and your money deserve? Clients of estate management counselors benefit from having one set of professionals advise them on their tax, estate planning, and investment advice. We call that the Professional Edge. Todd is a tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. With over 15 years' experience, he welcomes the opportunity to assist you in preparing for retirement, implement effective tax planning strategies, and to help you properly plan your estate. His radio show, The Professional Edge, is aired weekly on Sundays at 9 a.m. If you're interested in meeting with Scene, call his office at 877-654-9798. That's 877-654-9798. Do you want to feel more confident about making the right investment, tax, and estate planning decisions? Today, these decisions are more complex than ever. Have you thought about working with a professional advisor and not sure who to turn to? Not sure what qualifies one to be an advisor? Todd is more than qualified as a tax attorney, CPA, and certified financial planner. Scene is with Estate Management Counselors. Estate Management Counselors operates as an independent fee-only investment advisory firm. They're dedicated to gaining a personal understanding of their clients' objectives and implementing professional counsel and advice to achieve those objectives. So take a second to talk with Scene Todd to learn how you can benefit from their multidisciplinary practice where they coordinate their clients' legal, tax, and investment strategies into one comprehensive and integrated plan to enhance and protect their clients' financial financial security. You can reach estate management counselors and speak with Scene Todd by calling 1-877-654-9798. That's 1-877-654-9798.